G'day from Nagoya, Japan. Daniel Ricciardo last just 2 corners off on turn 3 in yesterday's Japanese Grand Prix. Is Daniel done? Well, let's have a look at it. I was shooting at turn 1. The cars are coming towards me. They all get past me. It was all fine. And then I immediately go and have a look at the back of my camera to pick a picture to post. And then I look up and I see a red flag just in front of me. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? I've got no TV screen to look at. And then I happen to see some dust settling over at turn 3. So I immediately go to the F1 app. Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo off at turn 3. And I didn't realise at the time, but there were huge sighs from the crowd because initially they thought, oh no, that's Yuki. It wasn't, so they were pretty happy that their man, Yuki Tsunoda, was still in the race. But I've had a look at the incident, and I'm sure you have too. I'm going to suggest it's a 50-50, and certainly a lot of the comments I've seen on social media would suggest that the vast majority of the public believe it's a 50-50. It's a racing incident. I think the team will say, well, this is a racing incident, so I think he's going to get somewhat of a reprieve from VCARB, in so much as they're not going to say, right, well, that's another black mark against your name. That might be a grey mark. But certainly after the incident, it was quite amazing because I counted, I reckon, 8 different service vehicles coming out onto the track, going in the flow of the way we race, heading around to that turn 3 to repair it. And it was out of action for a good half an hour, wasn't it, before we restarted. And have a look at the damage to both cars. It was sizable. Later in the afternoon, I went back to the media centre and both Daniel and Alex Albon were facing the media, and I have seen a little bit of Daniel's stuff, and it's hard to watch. He's got some bad luck, and I know some of you are going to say, no, he should be gone, he's past it. I don't want to say that. I think he's great for the sport. Yes, he does need a bump up in his performance, and perhaps he needs some good luck. I was happy to see on a social media post that he and Alex were walking along the paddock, obviously amicably chatting about the incident. So that to me would suggest that, in their eyes at least, it was 50-50. Of course, Williams have plenty to worry about too. This is their 3rd big crash in 2 weeks. Going racing is becoming a very expensive exercise, and as you know, they did not have a 3rd chassis in Australia, which meant they couldn't even run a car during the race. When Alex got out of that car, he gave it a good looking over to see if he could assess the damage. James Vowles said they're going to have to wait until they get it back to England before they obviously make that decision, but he seems to think it will be fine. Although James did say that they would have to revert to an old spec aero package if they could use the chassis again, as Williams only had 1 set of their upgrade package. So I'm not sure that we should expect too much in terms of performance from Williams in the next race in China. So that's what a lot of the media focused on. Of course, we had Max Verstappen winning, as you would well expect, and he happened to win in a canter, really. Great to see Sergio Perez second, though, because Sergio needs to bolster his performances to make sure that he retains that seat for next year. Let's go to family matters now, and I was delighted to see Oscar Piastri's mum, Nicole, with us on the weekend. Her and her partner, Tim, had brought the 3 Piastri sisters. Now, in the past, I've photographed Hattie at a race, but I don't think you've met Edie or May. These are delightful young ladies. They still live at home, and when Oscar comes back to Melbourne, he'll often stay with the family, and he has a special relationship with one of the family's 2 dogs. But the dog just doesn't click and doesn't relish Oscar's love and affection. I asked them whether his success had changed him much, and they said no, he still has a very dry sense of humour and is enjoying his time driving for McLaren. How'd he go on the weekend? He finished 8th. On the subject of Oscar Piastri, I have an Oscar Piastri quad lock case that the guys gave me. This is from Melbourne. But why I love this product is there's all these different options for putting on the back. Let's just say battery. I have a wallet that goes on the back, and someone like Valtteri Bottas, who's a cyclist, will get great use out of this mount. Back in Perth, I have this bracket in my car, and I can simply push this onto it and it clicks on automatically. It's magnetic. There's no doubt, though, that Quadlock offers the simplest and best smartphone mounting system for all your adventures. Another accessory you might like is this suction base, which allows you to put it on, say, a window or a flat surface and mount your phone any way you want. And another thing, this is extremely solid, so it doesn't break, particularly at the bottom, which other cheaper ones do. If you're interested in finding out more, there's a link in the description below. Click on that or head to quadlockcase.net. On my side of things, I went out to Parc Fermé to photograph the top 3 drivers coming in and the podium. And we typically queue up, well, on this stage it was about 10 laps I queued up for. That enabled me to be towards the front of the queue, so I got a pretty good position for Parc Fermé. And when I saw Sergio Perez's trainer, Jose Canales, stand next to me, I thought, right, we're going to at least get Sergio over here. Then to my left, I saw Carlos Honora, who is Carlos Sainz's cousin, stroke manager. So I'm figuring, right, I'm going to get both drivers. Well, in fact, I got all three come over. So I had a wide-angle lens, and they were with less than a metre from me at times, and I could hear what they were saying between the different crew members, and it's a rather privileged position to be in. After Parc Ferme, I moved back to shoot the podium, and unfortunately there's these wires that stop the drivers falling over the edge, but of course they look shocking in your photos unless you happen to be nice and high, and this track does not have a photo tower. But of course we had some great champagne spraying. We had Carlos trying to pour champagne, well, sparkling wine, down Max Verstappen's race suit. Just to my right I had Fred Vasseur. Christian Horner was just to my left, and behind me was Max's race engineer on the left here. Oh, and these two guys caught my attention too with the Japanese bandanas. Apart from the top three, who was happy with the race on Sunday? Well, certainly Lance Stroll was pretty happy. He came out beaming. We don't often see him with big smiles on his face after the race, so well done to Lance Stroll. And Yuki Tsunoda was the hometown hero. And it's funny that Yuki had a celly after the race with his team because he finished 10th at his home race. I remember back to Mercedes when they were in their heyday. If they won, they had a celebration, but anything less than a win would not result in a formal celebration. Now we're having teams who are obviously getting down to 10th and celebrating a point, but they're obviously very different teams, and being Yuki's home race, I think it was probably justified. Now, other things I want to talk to you about. Have a look at Lewis Hamilton coming in here. This was an interesting outfit. Of course, Lewis tends to wear some out there stuff. This had, for me, vibes of perhaps a shooting jacket or even a photo jacket with lots of pockets. And as you can see behind here, this is one of Lewis's security people, Pavel. He's behind, and this is Reese. Reese is taking off to go in front to clear a path for Lewis. This was pretty early in the morning, about 5.5 hours before race start, and it's not often we see Lewis in that early, but typically what one of the security guys will do is clear a path for Lewis. And I must say, we're pretty lucky to get a clean shot here. Normally there are fans everywhere looking for selfies and autographs. Now, still on the subject of fans, I want to talk to you about these fans. These are Apex fans. Of course, that's the fictional F1 team that Brad Pitt and Damson Idris will be driving for in a movie that comes out in 2025. I spotted the film crew there on Saturday and Sunday. They were running a car around the track with some cameras on the back capturing vision for background for the movie. But out in the area just outside the swipe gates, they cajoled a number of fans in putting on the Apex shirts. They were giving away the hats, and of course look at these cars on top of the hats. Very nice touch. And those people who are just fans on the day, they weren't extras, will in fact be in the movie with any sort of luck. And all of those people were signing waivers, and those waivers would then be held up next to their face, and somebody from the production team would take a photo of them. So obviously they know that those people are cleared and have given permission to be in a major Hollywood film. Oh, and one final thing. After the race, I walked back down pit lane, and I could see all these fans out here having a lovely time looking through the gaps in the pit wall fence. Then I hark back to Australia, and I think in a lot of races they have to have a security guard at each of those holes, and in Australia they actually had to board them up, and even then people were trying to kick them down. But not in Japan, because the Japanese people understand what the etiquette is. So here they had no boards and they had no security people. The fans just knew the gig that they weren't allowed into pit lane. And that is one of the great things about this country. Now, we could see Oscar Piastri down here tonight because I believe, and in fact I know he missed his helicopter transfer. His girlfriend Lily made it, but no, he dipped out and he's now having to catch a train, like the rest of us, to Nagoya and then perhaps to some point onward. But this is a marvellous way to travel here. Everything is supremely reliable. The trains are magnificently comfortable and clean, although last year we didn't book a ticket and hence we were stuck here taking the just general carriage with a whole lot of luggage jam-packed like sardines. But we didn't make that mistake this year, and indeed we have 2 reserved seats on the Limited Express to Nagoya. What's it like being a professional photographer?
Well, mate, I was hoping I'd bump into somebody who might be able to tell me.
Clive, what's your take on this F1 photography nonsense?
Well, you get to travel to the best countries in the world like this. I travel by train, and yeah, that's it really. You can cut that out.
Those 2 photographers are quite well known from Getty Images, Clive Mason and Clive Rose. And I'm on this train here. Let's see if we can see them as they pass by. With that said, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. I make that plea often, and for those who do actually succumb and press the subscribe button, it's appreciated. And for a whole lot of extra content, check out some of these links. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Check out these links. Okay.
到着に特急へ到着いたします。